Recording CRT with the MiSTer is something I've struggled with in the past, but I think I figured it out. I got some video running in the background here displaying, what I've achieved. So if you want your recordings to look this good, stay tuned. All right, guys, I wanted to do another video demonstrating how to record CRTs because I don't record them quite the same as I used to. And so let me just show you what I'm doing different now. So this is me pointing my camera here at my iPhone. I normally record off this iPhone 7. Download this app, Pro Movie. It's like $5 or something. So you get into Pro Movie. Make sure you've made your screen as small as possible. Okay, so I've just made the screen smaller. That'll help with focusing artifacts. You zoom in as much as you can. I got another video going into all the nitty-gritty of recording CRTs. If you want more detail, go check that video out. But what I'm doing different now is it used to be I would go in and I would adjust all of these things, like shutter speed here. I will go in and I would manually adjust all of these. So shutter 60, let's put it at like 24 or something, ISO. I will go in and I'd manually set all of these. So you can see down here if there's a red bar under it, shutter, ISO, exposure. That means that it's locked in. It's going to stay at that parameter and it won't auto adjust. Like you can see the white balance over here auto adjusting. Like if I mess with the contrast on my CRT, like I just did right there, it's going to auto adjust the white balance. It'll auto adjust everything if the screen changes, just the level changes, whatever. So what I'm doing different now is, okay, first go into your settings, make sure your screen brightness is in the middle because this is going to be similar to how it's going to look when you actually are done editing and uploading your video. So we got screen brightness. What I'm doing now is instead of going in and manually adjusting all these, I'm letting the camera auto focus everything. So let's go 1080p at 25 and see what it does. You can see the screen's like flickering, right? So the whole reason we mess with all these parameters is so that we can get rid of that flicker, we can get rid of the scrolling bar, and we can get rid of the moire pattern. So getting rid of the flicker and the moire is done the same way. You just basically need to go in and let this auto adjust until it just locks in on its own. And I've been finding, you want to record at 60, frame rate 60 if you can. That'll make your motion smooth. And unfortunately, the only way I can get frame rate 60 is in 16:9 here. If I go into 4:3, I don't even have the option of 60. So I've been using 16:9. I'm still not sure if I want to use 16:9, 60 hertz, or if I want to go into 4:3 and maybe use these higher resolutions like 4000 by 3000. That'll be for another video. I'm still playing with that. But right now I've been using 16:9 so that I can use 60 and then locking it in and then just trying to lock the exposure here. There's an exposure button. If you click lock and it's locked in, you're good to go. If you hit the exposure lock, that's going to lock your shutter and your ISO, and your exposure will all be locked and it won't ever adjust through the rest of your recording. So like right now, I'm not seeing any strobing bar or any strobing, and I'm not seeing any rolling bar. Actually, I think I just saw, well, the rolling bar you can see on the TV over here. That's because of the camera I'm actually recording off of, this one here. But there's no rolling bar on this screen. Like see on my CRT in the back, you can see this rolling bar. We're not getting that here because we happen to lock it in. Now, yesterday when I was messing with this, I had to do this over and over again. Like it took me like 10 minutes of going in here, going into this And I was messing around with, I've tried frame rates at 25 and 30 and 48. And I just couldn't get it to work. And then for some reason, it finally worked when I set it to 60 for like the 5th time. Like right now, it's just locking in. So you might have to mess with it. And what you can do if you want it, like I can unlock it, right? So I just unlocked it. If you adjust the contrast, I'm going to adjust the contrast on my CRT. Like if you adjust this, all your parameters down here are going to auto adjust if you don't have it locked in. See how the ISO is adjusting? And all of these parameters, not all of them, but like the shutter, the ISO, and the exposure all kind of work together in unison to get rid of that rolling bar and the strobing. So you need all 3 locked in. And what I like to do to start with is I'll turn my contrast up like I'm doing right here on my CRT. I'll turn it kind of all the way up, or almost all the way up. And then I'm going to mess with, you know, like I said, letting this auto adjust on its own, and then hopefully just locking it in a position so there's absolutely no rolling bar and no strobing. And depending on the lighting in your room, it might lock in better or worse. Like I'm noticing I have a light turned on right now in my room. Look, I just turned it off. Like that kind of thing is going to affect how this thing auto adjusts. And it seems to struggle a little bit more when there's no light in the room. And I prefer to do my recording with all the lights out at night, because it just it makes your CRT glow better and there's no glare. So you know you're locked in when there's a red bar under these items here, and you see the little lock on the screen here. You can now it's unlocked, and notice the red bar is gone down here, and it'll start auto adjusting again if I start messing with things like the contrast on my screen. So right there, it's locked in good. So once we're happy with it, there's no rolling bar, there's no strobing, we'll hit exposure, lock it. So now it's locked. Actually, that's focus. It says focus here. Well, we want to lock, okay, exposure. We just locked the exposure. So now all you have to do once that's dialed in is you'll dial in your white balance here, and you'll dial in the actual contrast knob on your CRT. So let's do the white balance first. I mean, you set the white balance kind of to I, something around 7,000 is pretty good. You want it to look on here like it looks over here on your CRT. So once you got that, then you'll go in and adjust the contrast on your CRT. I usually turn it a little bit dimmer than I would normally game on. And that's pretty good. And now you're going to dial in your focus. So you're going to bring it, where's the focus? So now we got the focus up, and the focus is to get rid of the moire. So I can't really show you the moire gone because I'm pointing a camera at a camera that's pointing at a CRT. And I'd have to adjust the focus on the actual phone I'm recording off of. But you can see how this is changing the moire, like that rainbowing going on. So what you want to do is get this focus just dialed in so the rainbowing's gone. And basically what you have to do is put it a little bit out of focus, and it'll get rid of that rainbowing. And typically I even go put it even more out of focus, because I'll notice even though I don't see any rainbowing or moire on my display, it'll come up on YouTube. So just to be safe, I put it a little bit extra out of focus. And I adjust my focus on a level that's bright and usually has a lot of solid backgrounds. Like if you look, there's a lot of blue on this. If you look at my CRT, this is where you're going to see the moire the worst, like on the CRT on the solid backgrounds. So you want to like pull it up in like a solid color like that. Like if you go to a black level in the game and you're like, oh, you dial in your focus. Oh, I don't see any moire. Well, then when you get to like a bright level, you're going to see the moire. So yeah, I guess that's about it. At this point, you know, we use the autofocus to adjust instead of manually doing it like we used to. And this is a big deal for me because this is a MiSTer right here. I'm pointing, this is a MiSTer. And the MiSTer is going to have native refresh rates. And they're all very odd. Like this is probably like a 57.8 refresh rate. And so you can't just set your shutter to 60 and expect there to be no rolling bar. There's always going to be a little bit unless you use this auto adjust. Like I could never go in and dial it perfectly. Instead, what I had been doing before was using retroarch and setting, like using emulation and playing the game and setting it to 60 on the game through software emulation so that it wasn't displaying at the native refresh rate, which made my games run slightly faster. And retroarch, you know, it's emulation, the game, there's more input lag. There's just, it's not as sharp as the MiSTer. It's not as solid a gaming experience. So now I'm playing on the MiSTer. The refresh rate, I can put it at anything and this auto adjust just takes care of it. So that's about it for this video. Some things I'm still working on as far as recording CRTs is, you know, like I said earlier, I wish I could do 4:3 at 60. Like I can't do 4:3 at 60 frames per second. So like if I record at 30 frames per second, when you watch it on YouTube, it looks kind of whack. Like you'll actually see some blurring going on. And yeah, I'd like to get rid of that. I'm not sure, like, you know, or maybe I just need to deal with the blur and record in 4:3. Or, hey, should I record in 4K or 3K or 1440? I was recording in 1440 before, but not too many people are actually watching videos in 1440, so I'm not sure if that really helps. So lately I've just been using 1080, but I've noticed with 1080 in solid black sections of a game that are really dark, they'll be like the screen will be kind of fuzzy. You'll see some like artifacting on the screen, you know, kind of like you're watching a low resolution recording of something. So I'm still messing with that. But yeah, maybe in the future I'll do another video after I figure things out a little bit better. Hope this records you guys record blah blah blah. Hope this video helps you guys record some CRT footage. All right, bye guys.